Hi everybody, welcome back. In this episode I'm building the foundation for a garage extension. Right here I am demolishing the original extension. This was an old concrete fence and some corrugated roof parts. This project is for a client. This originally was built in the 70s. This little space was an unpractical place to store some stuff. The new extension will be a better and dry and insulated place for storage. After the walls were taken down, the space becomes a lot more visible. Let's have a look on the design. So this extension will be a wooden wall and a floor on top of a concrete foundation. The building of the timber frame and the siding will be covered in a follow-up video. The foundation will have the shape of a slab with a rim on the outside perimeter. This rim will go down and up. The reason to go down is that the concrete will be a lot more robust, and the part that goes up will keep the wooden frame dry and away from the soil. The slab is 130 mm thick or 5 inches and will be 200 mm deep at the deepest part or 8 inches. The upstanding part will be 150 mm or 6 inches tall from the slab. But before anything can be done, first some old and heavy concrete need to be removed. The old concrete is not that strong, but the weight and quantity makes this a hefty job. The bits and pebbles could then be shoveled and removed to the skip. In the Netherlands, a skip of full dry rubble is recycled to sand and other materials, so a full skip of that waste material is not so expensive compared to combined waste. With all the old stuff removed, then the first material delivery was made. First I needed wood for the concrete case and sand to fill the void left by the old concrete. Then I could fill the whole area to the level or height of the underside of the concrete. I kept in mind the height this needed to be and checked roughly for level. I marked on the existing walls how high I needed to go. When enough material was filled, I could start on the wooden case. This wood is a water-resistant chipboard. This is quite smooth and is usable as a case for one time. I will use the case as a reference to where the foundation will extend and how high this will end up. Oh, and if you like this video, hit the thumbs up and consider subscribing. When the case is roughly in place, I started to adjust it to the right dimensions and level. Later on, I backfilled the case to counter the pressure by the poured concrete. After that, I compacted the sand. This prevents sagging of the foundation. The ground here in the Netherlands is always moving, but with this step the ground is settled nicely. Because of the small area, it's almost too small for a compacting machine. Otherwise I had to do this by hand. Because the case is a reference now, I could check the sand for the right level and height. Then the next big step is the steel reinforcement. In the low spot of the concrete rim I placed 3 pieces of rebar. This is 12 mm or a half an inch thick. This is bent manually for the corner. After that I made small rebar braces, if you would. The braces are bended with a bending tool. The braces were welded on the rebar. Under the rebar, small spacers were placed to keep the steel up in the concrete. Right there a weld broke. I came back to redo that one. Then on the brace, 2 more bars were welded on. This provides more extra bending strength on the whole concrete in 2 directions. In case of unwanted ground movement, the concrete will stay intact. and then the concrete could arrive. The concrete truck came with a pump and a crane, so the concrete was moved over the garage and then poured in position. The concrete was in place after 2 minutes, so that's fairly quick. Right after that, my buddy helped me with poking the concrete to clear the air bubbles, and I screeded the top of the concrete slab. Then after a few hours, I redid the top of the concrete to get it even more flatter. After a few days, the concrete was nice and rigid, and we started on the upstanding rim. The weather was rainy, so that helped keep the concrete quite wet when drying or settling. Then the internal case could be made, and a small wooden frame to keep the case level and plumb. Some rebar mesh stuck out of the new concrete, but 2 more pieces of 8mm or 3/8 rebar was put in position. This concrete was mixed by hand because the opening of the case was quite small. I let stick out a total of 10 pieces of thread rod out of the concrete. This will be used later on to bolt the timber frame to the concrete. After 2 days, the case was removed and the concrete foundation was completely ready for the timber frame. Stay tuned for the next part.